3. Keep them in the country at all costs, even when they commit violent crime like murder and rape. Attack the language used to describe the criminals, as opposed to the criminals themselves.
I apologize for calling the illegal immigrant who murdered Lincoln Riley illegal. He illegally murdered her, and he's here illegally, but I apologize for calling him an illegal. Welcome back to the JP Reacts channel, my beautiful freedom-loving friend, where we like to call out the lies, hypocrisy, and corruption of tyrants and Satan, shine the light of awareness on woke absurdities, and highlight the amazing work of other freedom fighters. I know we're all sick of hearing about the open border, but more so, we're actually sick that the border is open. There's been some fresh news about it that's enlightened my mind, something I didn't know about having the open border flooding the U.S. with illegals. We'll hear more of those details, how that's kind of meant to rig the election in a way where it messes with the census and therefore influences Democrats getting more House seats available in the House of Representatives and more electoral votes. This blew my mind. I had no idea. I don't know if you did or not. This is something I first heard about it just a couple days ago when Elon Musk was doing his interview with Don Lemon. We'll see that short snippet in just a moment, but seemingly Elon put this on the map, and then this video you saw just a clip of, we're gonna watch more. It's now flooding the internet. So I think Elon really, he seems smart, but I think he knew something that a lot of people didn't. And it's validated, and now people are waking up to something new that even freedom lovers like you and I may have been asleep to before. Now you can see here on ground.news the title, Democrats Open Border Trickery, Gaming the Census. Now get a load of this. To me, I am intrigued by the media bias coverage of this story. Democrats flooding the border, it's a trickery, rigging the census to kind of rig the elections kind of thing with Congress and the president. But you can see here on ground.news that tells you the political leaning of any publication, which I love. I want transparency, none of this deceptive stuff. Mainstream media, every single publication covering this is right or leans right. So this tells you the media bias. You could say, well, the right is biased, they're covering it. No, I would say this is a very newsworthy story, but the bias is there's no one on the left covering this story, which almost makes you seem like they're trying to cover it up. So these would be Democratic stories about the border, very different than the one we're getting into today. Democrats embrace tougher border enforcement, seeing Trump's demolition of deal as a gift. So that's the Democratic headline. We're doing tougher border enforcement. Ground News accumulates articles covering this story from a variety of sources around the internet, and it categorizes them so you can see this kind of left-leaning headline is covered by 6 news organizations on the left, 7 on the center. Cool, I like center stuff. And only 1 on the right. If there's bias, we the people want to know. And then you can see the specific articles under that headline. For example, Democrats embrace tougher border enforcement, seeing Trump's demolition of the deal as a gift. This news organization leans left. Here's who funds them. Yeah, now we know. And then you can click through any of these articles on Ground News and read them on their original source. And then back to how they're gaming the census, you can see these headlines. You're not going to see any of these headlines from leftist media organizations. We're going to click through, get the quick details from the New York Post. But first, I want to say if you're someone who wants to stay fully informed with none of the deception, you can go to ground.news/JPReacts. You can subscribe through my link for less than $1 a month, or save 40% off their Vantage plan, which is what I use. So clicking through to the New York Post coverage of this, Democrats open border trickery, gaming the census. What's going on? Here's the summary, quoting Elon Musk. Elon Musk spelled it out on Twitter this month. Most people in America don't know that the census is based on a simple headcount of people, including illegals. I did not know that. Not just citizens. This shifts political power and money to states and congressional districts with the highest number of illegals, because the more they have a population, the more seats they get in Congress, as well as electoral votes. Come one, come all, the border's open because we knocked it down. Come on, and here's money for you. Please stay in these districts. We're going to enjoy the blue wave coming. It also says migrants are actually helping protect Democratic members of Congress from losing their districts as the city's population shrinks. Why would New York be willing to spend $10 million a day to house and care for illegals? Perhaps because there's an agenda more valuable to them. And their agenda, it ain't humanitarian. So let's take a quick look at this video that's going around that the right-leaning publications are sharing and left-leaning publications are not covering because they want to have it covered up. Take a look.
Democrat open borders plan to entrench single-party rule, explained in under 2 minutes. 1. Flood the country with untold millions of illegals by land, sea, and air from all over the world, enough to eclipse the populations of 36 individual U.S. states so far.
Do you remember how Biden administration just admitted a couple weeks ago they've flown over 300,000 illegal immigrants in from other countries just in 2023 alone? Intentionally flew them in, not just like, oh, they got in through the border, but we need you here. We're going to put you here.
2. Prioritize the needs of these millions of non-citizens over the needs of the American citizen with free.
Shut down those schools. We've got some people who aren't allowed to be here that we want to be here.
Flights, buses, hotels, meals, and phones, ensuring their loyalty to the political party that imported them. 3. Keep them in the country at all costs, even when they commit violent crime like murder and rape. Attack the language used to describe the criminals, as opposed to the criminals themselves.
I apologize for calling the illegal immigrant who murdered Lincoln Riley illegal. He illegally murdered her, and he's here illegally, but I apologize for calling him an illegal. I've sent my condolences to him. Sound familiar?
Slander critics as racist. 4. Ensure their privileges are made irrevocable with city and state sanctuary laws that act as population magnets. Codify permanent status and ensure non-cooperation with ICE. 5. Count the non-citizens in the census that will determine congressional apportionment in the House of Representatives. As of now, that would equal 13 extra congressional districts, a tremendous amount of electoral power. 6. Wage a massive, heavily funded lawfare campaign to change state voting laws that legalize mass mail-in ballots, no signature verification, and no proof of citizenship requirements.
By the way, there's currently some notable Republicans who are pushing what they're calling ballot banking, which is encouraging people to vote early. And part of that is mail-in ballots. Those are Republicans encouraging people to do that. The exact thing that the left was doing in the last election, they're still doing it. But I want you to know I am highly suspicious and do not endorse that idea. Voting in person on election day is what I endorse.
Making it nearly impossible to prove voter fraud. 7. Lock in the permanent voting majority with campaign promises of lavish benefits and permanent privileges, enshrining generational fealty to the Democrat Party. 8. Win elections. 9.
That should have been win elections in quotation marks, but I forgive them.
Entrenched single-party rule has been achieved. The best part? Your tax dollars are paying for it.
Well, that's a little misleading. That's not really the best part. That's another bad part. That video, 1 minute and 30 seconds, it summarizes this whole thing, which is huge. Before I saw this info come out from originally from Elon, and then this video just masterfully, simply portrays, I thought like, okay, the open border thing, how it's like influencing elections, get them in here, then like, let's really push through vote without ID, which they're also trying to do. But I thought that was like the only election angle. But no, this opens up a whole new thing, which I would dare say is even more powerful because it doesn't just influence who gets elected to what office, president, but can influence the Democrats being able to have a majority of seats easier in the House, which is a powerful thing, for better or worse. In this case, worse. So now let's hear the original clip of Elon sharing this with Don Lemon during the interview that got Don fired from his deal with Twitter. And I'm going to do just the short part where Elon, from his own words, is sharing this, which I think was really the first time I've seen the world really wake up to this information. By the way, watch how dumb Don Lemon tries to play through all this.
Yeah, so the question is like how? So there's a few ways that this works. One is that when the census is done, the census is based on all people in an area, whether they are citizens or not. So if there are a concentration of people who came here illegally in a particular state, that state will actually then get an increased number of House seats. So the House seat apportionment is proportionate to the number of people, not the number of citizens. So the illegals overwhelmingly go to places like California and New York. If you just look at the math, if you look at the apportionment with and without illegals, I believe California would lose. I believe the blue state, there would be a net loss of blue states of approximately 20 seats in the House.
Just landing the plane there without this illegally influencing the census, which then kind of seemingly illegally influences through the bounds of law somehow the proportion of House seats, the Democrats would have 20 less seats in the House of Congress. Just with how things are now, not just how they're trying to get them to be through millions and millions of more illegals coming to our country. I don't care if you like Elon Musk, dislike him. Personally, I like to think for myself on each nuance of what he says and what he does, and I'll make my own conclusions with those nuances. But on this specific nuance, I am incredibly grateful for Elon, one, being smart enough to know this, and two, sharing it with the world, because I didn't know it before, and this is getting around. I love it. And as G.I. Joe once said, knowing is half the battle. The other half is doing something with what you know, letting our words and actions be incredibly aligned with our own critical thinking and our heart and soul, and having the courage to let those actions go forward into the world. That way we're awake and we're also taking action. And thank you for watching this with me, my beautiful freedom-loving friend. I think this is important information, and I'll look forward to seeing you on our next video.